Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be my solo Dragon 20 Bad el Kazar build guide and why I do it. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so here is the Bad el Kazar that I've got built to do the solo dragon farming, and you can see here the gear is reflex and speed. We want him to be very fast, and we want him to be getting extra turns, aka cycling through his cooldowns as fast as possible. So this build could honestly be done with Relentless. It would just be a little bit different. Relentless is 18% chance to grant an extra turn, whereas Reflex has been buffed recently to be a 40% chance to reduce a random skill's cooldown. Now, it used to be 30%. Until about 3 or 4 months ago, I think, they buffed it to 40%. And back when they did that, I said that was probably the most significant change they made to any set. It was already a little bit more optimal than Relentless in certain situations based on the champion and their kit. Now it definitely is. Now it makes even more sense than before. And in my opinion, in this build, the Reflex is the better route to go as opposed to Relentless. The reason it's so good on Bad El is because he's only got one cooldown ability. The passive, nope, and the A1, nope, and obviously the aura. So it's just this one ability, so you know every time that thing procs, it's going to be going towards the Malice, and he can cycle through and get as many Malice off in the fight as possible. And if you're curious on the total stats and what it takes to make this happen, this is the stats for mine here. 69k HP. The attack is fine and dandy, but you don't really have to worry about getting a ton of attack. We're not relying on the A1 to make this work. It is the Malice and all the poisons that he is inflicting on the enemy's defense of 3200. Speed, you want him pretty fast. 250 is pretty good. Crit rate, crit damage are nice, but not super necessary. And then the debuff resistance and accuracy of 267 and 297. So as you can see, the build is mainly based around just being very sturdy, a good blend of resistance and accuracy along with the defense and HP while being high speed to go along with it. So not a whole lot to say about the gear specifically because it's just basically trying to get as much sustain that you can while having good accuracy and resistance to go along with it. So I'll show you these just in case you're curious, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. I did like to go with HP and defense flip-flop to get both of those stats between the gloves and the chest, just to have a nice blend of the toughness. You'll see it can actually be kind of tough to sustain what the dragon is doing. That's probably the toughest part of the run. We'll explain that as I'm talking about the run, but yeah, the dragon ramping up his damage was the toughest part of the build for sure. But then the helm and the weapon right there. And then for the masteries, a couple things I wanted to talk about. So you could probably go down offense and support, but like I said, the toughest part of the run is making sure I can survive that third inhale where the dragon stands up and then pummels you. I gotta be able to survive that third one, and it was actually kind of tough to do so. So I like getting the improved parry, which has decreased the damage received by the champion by 8% when they are hit with a critical hit. And then also I can get delay of death, which has reduced the damage the champion receives from a specific enemy by 0.75%, and it can stack up to 6%. So you couple that 6% with the 8% less when crit, and it actually adds up to a pretty significant amount of sustain to help you in the toughest part of the run. And then under support, pretty typical. Now, you have a choice. Typically, with most Bad el Kazar builds, you'll go with Lasting Gifts and Master Hexer because he's going to be placing the continuous heals and the poisons. So he's doing things for you and your allies and also the opponents. So you want both of the Lasting Gifts and the Master Hexer. But in this build, for this being like my overnight dragon grinder slash food preparation build, I actually want to go with Spirit Haste because it makes it a lot easier to speed up the run and make sure it's a 100% win rate because it's basically 24 free speed. While we're leveling up food and I've got the champions next to Bad El, when they die, they're going to feed my Bad El speed to make the run that much more efficient. And then for the tier 6 mastery, there is some arguments maybe for War Master would probably speed up the run, but it may not be a 100% win rate. I like to crank out the turns. The dragon is really a DPS race, especially in this context, because if he gets that fourth inhale off, it's going to be curtains probably, unless you have an insanely tough champion. So I like the Oppressor. It's a fun one. We're going to be placing lots of poisons with Bad El, especially during the waves. We'll have lots of them up. We're cycling through because of the reflex set. So this is a great choice just to help me crank out those turns and win that speed race against the dragon. So now let's go ahead and fire up a run, and I can show you this in action while I talk about it. So yeah, you can see here. Oh, first of all, so why do I do this? I think I've done a video on this about like 6 or 7 months ago, but I finally was able to get it to work solo. I couldn't get it to work at 100% win rate by one Bad el Kazar. Now, I did for a long time have a dragon team that was like Draco, Bad El, and Sir Nick or something, where it was a pretty solid team, like 1 minute runs, 100% win rate, and I could bring 2 food champions. I might not be remembering it perfect, but I think that was my team that I used for a while. Now, I love doing this because if I'm going to run the dragon overnight, which by the way is a good thing to do even if you're not a whale, even if you're not going to buy a bunch of energy, it's good just to wake up in the morning and not have to rush to play and make sure that you're still going to be generating energy. So it's a good thing to do, even if you don't have a bunch of stuff, like you're not going to spend a bunch on energy, just to make sure that you're always using energy, you're always staying below max. If you don't have a specific plan in place, you might as well. That way you don't have to rush to come play. I've got all sorts of videos showing you how to auto-click and the fact that it's allowable and all that type of stuff if you're curious. So I'll try to remember to link to it up there if you're curious on how I auto-click personally. But yeah, that's why I do it, so that I can level up food champions and just wake up with some bonus food. Because if I'm going to be sleeping, I don't care if the run is 30 seconds or 5 minutes. But now I want to switch to segue to the dragon fight. You can see this is where the dragon's going to inhale. And then he will hit me right there for 7,500. Now, that's going to keep ramping up. So the next time he does it, it's going to be a lot more. And the next time he does it, it's going to be a lot more. That's why I say it is a race. We'll see here. Put it down to 1, 17K. All right, so now this next one that he does will be a lot more than 17K. And I want to get him down before he gets that 4th inhale off. So it's really tough to get it done before the 3rd inhale. This is the 3rd one. And boom, 32,000. So we were able to get him down now before he's going to have the opportunity to get a 4th one off right there. So you can see sub 2 minutes with the Bad El, and then all of the experience and level ups that we get for the food there. And as the fight is going to go on, that dragon is going to slowly hit us harder and harder and harder. So if you aren't able to beat him quickly, it can really snowball out of hand when it starts to get that 4th and 5th inhale off. So that's why I talk about being super fast, filling up my turn meter, and getting through everything as fast as I can, coupling that with the effect of the reflex set so that I can get as many poisons on him as possible and try to avoid him snowballing into one-shotting me. So that is the strategy and why I do it for this build guide on the solo dragon build for Bad el Kazar. And again, I think the most important part of this video is to take a look at the stats in terms of seeing what it's going to take to get to that point. So if you get close to these stats, you should be able to do it. If you want a 100% win rate, you probably can't drop too far below these. I would say 65,000 HP, 3,000 defense, 240-ish speed with some decent accuracy and resistance to go along with it, because I was noticing that I was having to really kind of up the stats here and prevent the dragon from one-shotting me on those inhales as he continues to snowball and hit harder and harder. And then I guess I would say another important thing is to make sure you've got the masteries down pat in case you were looking for something to copy when it comes to this build. So I'll leave that up as we say goodbye here. But yeah, I've been trying to do about once a week a fun build specific video, not necessarily a champion guide, but my deep dive thoughts and stats needed and masteries needed for a specific build on a specific strategy. Been trying to kind of branch out and do some specific stuff like that, like my lockdown Torment build, and I'll keep doing other pretty relevant builds that would be fun to cover and talk about to release a video on. So that's gonna do it for this one. And as always, let me know what you think down in the comments. I always enjoy reading your input and seeing your ideas and how you feel about things as well. So as always, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Peace.